Come on, Chief. I didn't get a good hook set on that one. All right, guys, let's talk about something very important. Let's say you want to get somebody new involved in fishing that really hasn't bought in yet. They don't understand it like you do. You're excited about it. They're not excited about it. And you'd like to get them excited. And this is especially true, I think, of kids and youth. But also your buddy. Maybe your buddy, you go hunting with him and you want him to go fishing with you, but he's not interested. So just a couple of things that you can do, I think, as far as equipment selection and baits to use and what to do maybe the first few times out in order to get them involved. There are really not a lot of mistakes that you can make, but there are a couple. And so we just want to go over those, because if you make those mistakes, you're going to end up in a bad way and you're going to regret doing it. They're going to regret participating in it, and it's not going to help you at all. All right. So the number one thing, in my opinion, that people do, and I've made these mistakes too, so that's why I'm telling you, it's not just other people. These are things that I've done that have been mistakes. Number one is allowing this other person that you want to come, whether it's your children or a friend, to use inferior equipment. Let's just say, like for instance, I have several rods and reels. Like if they don't have the equipment, you need to allow them to use the stuff that you use. Or if you're going to purchase something else for a guest, you don't have to get the most expensive gear, but you shouldn't get the cheapest. All right, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, it just flat doesn't work as well. If I want to teach someone how to use a bait casting reel, and I give them a $40 reel that feels like I'm cranking on a boat winch whenever I throw the line out, they're not going to have a good time. If every time they cast there's this giant backlash, it's not very smooth. It's difficult to deal with the cast control. The drag is sticking. The worm gear is messed up. Something's wrong with it. They're going to have a bad time, and they're not going to want to come back. That's not going to get them interested in fishing. The thing that gets somebody interested in fishing is having the ability to be able to cast, and to do so in a way that is not going to cause them tons of problems. I made that mistake before, and I said, I'm going to bring my son and I'm going to buy him a reel that he'll be able to do when he was younger. And it was a reel that was supposed to be able to control for backlash, but it was only about a $40 reel. And I put it on about a $40 rod, and I thought I had something. Well, turns out whenever I picked it up to try to throw it, it just didn't work. I've been casting them my whole life, and I could only get half the distance that I could get with my rods and reels. It felt rough to reel it in. It just wasn't good quality, and it wasn't very fun at all. If I had to fish with it, I would still do it, but I'm already hooked, right? So if you want to get somebody involved in it, you need to do something that is going to make them want to participate in it again. And the way to do that, again, is to get something that's of quality. And there's a couple, again, the two reasons for that. Number one, it's not as fun if it's not good quality. Number two, if they decide they don't want to do it again for whatever reason, you have a spare reel, a spare rod and reel. If you get something that you're never going to use, you've just wasted your money completely. Because if that person decides that they've bought in, they want in on this is really fun, even though you bought them something that was cheaper, that reel's not going to get used again. You're going to have to get something else, or they're going to have to buy something else in order to participate in that. So it's a mistake from multiple angles. All right, now I would suggest if you want somebody to get involved in bass fishing, to go ahead and get a decent bass fishing, a decent bait casting reel, if you don't already have a spare, and get a spare and just crank the cast control to where you can throw it quite hard and you're just not going to backlash. Now, they're not going to be able to throw very far, right? But as they get used to it, you can assure them that they can move it maybe like a 1/16 of a turn at a time, and until they get used to casting it. And you're going to be better off than buying the ones with the gimmicks on them, with the flip back piece on it that's going to stop the backlash, and all the rest of those things are the cheaper reels. They just don't work as well. You can't learn very well on it because no other reel casts that way. There's tons of problems with that. So that would be my suggestion. Now, if you have to get something, let's just say they don't want to deal with a bait casting reel, they're not willing to do that, and you're going to do some other kind of fishing anyway, you can go ahead and get a closed face reel. But again, I would suggest spending some money on it. Now, in a closed face reel, you're not going to spend very much money. $40 or $50 is going to be sort of maxed out. But at least it's going to be a better quality one than one that you may never use again. And you can use it for, for catching brim, sockeye, whatever it is that you want to fish for. So again, just make sure it's something that you are actually going to use. The second thing about it, after we talk about equipment, is the bait. You want to make sure that the bait is actually something that will work itself, right? If you give all these moving components to them at one time, it's just simply too much. If I gave somebody a new reel, they've never really casted before, now they're trying to learn to throw, and if you're telling them that the moment that it hits the water you have to do something, there's going to be tons of trouble and they're going to get frustrated. So you don't want to do that, right? Soft plastics are, in my opinion, the way to go. Soft plastics, spinner baits, those types of baits where it's just cast and reel, essentially. Soft plastic, obviously you can throw it out and reel it across the bottom very slowly. They may enjoy that, where they can actually feel something happening on their line. But you don't want them to have to overthink things. You want them to be able to feel comfortable in what they're doing. And if they don't feel comfortable, they're not going to continue to do it. So that would be my tip for you. Again, and especially if this is your children, allow them to use one of your reels, your rods, right? Even if they tear something up, in my opinion, it's worth getting them involved. You know, for me, when I was younger, there were lots of times that I had choices to make. And I could make the choice of fishing or hunting or doing something outside or going to places that probably I shouldn't have been. And because I was so interested in doing things in the outdoors, in fishing and in hunting and participating in those activities, those other things didn't tempt me as much. I'm not going to tell you that I didn't get involved in things, but I will tell you that 90% of the time, fishing or hunting won over whatever it is that my friends wanted me to go and to do instead. And so it was something that I enjoyed, that I still enjoy. It's a stress reliever for me today. And maybe you've got a friend that, you know, they just need a hobby. They need to do something else. You want to get them outside. You want to get them outdoors. Bringing them fishing is a great thing to do. Most places around the nation, there are places to fish even if you don't have a boat. There are more and more of these WMAs and wildlife refuges that have piers that run out into the water so that people can fish year-round. You know, if nothing else, get out there and catfish with them. Show them what to do, where they can cast it out, reel up the slack, and wait on the thump. Get them involved in it. Maybe you don't want to start off that way. Maybe you want to start off a different way, like we were doing earlier with the previous video with the beetle spins. You know, beetle spins work. They just do. The other thing that you can do is go out there with some red wigglers or some night crawlers and place them under a hook and get out there and let them catch some bluegill, just to get involved, to get into the fun of it, of what it's like. And then maybe that will bridge the gap over to have them want to go and to catch bass and to do something a little different. Give yourself a chance to be out there. I mean, you look around behind me, it's just beautiful to be out. It's quiet, you can hear nature, you hear the birds and the crickets and the frogs and everything else, and you can just allow the rest of the world just to melt away. If the last couple of years has taught us anything, it's taught us that, you know, we need to get back to that. It's just not good. You know, we've got division all over our nation and all sorts of problems, both politically and every way that we can think. And just consuming that constantly is not good for us. We need to get out, de-stress, allow the world around us just to melt away for a moment, just to release and have a good time. So get someone involved, and if you do it, go ahead and invest in them, right? Let them know that they're worth it, that you actually want them to participate in it. If you're giving them junk whenever they come with you, it looks like you don't want them to go. Spend the time, spend the money, and get them involved. They're going to know that they're important because you're valuing them, and that's the way that we ought to treat one another. So I hope that you do that, guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys next time.